start, and then Karel, Arms, and then Janet. Okoa Uchumi rejects the conditional apologies. Kenya deserves accountability, not ifs, from a government without a conscience. We, the Okoa Uchumi campaign, categorically reject the weaponization of conditional apologies. Kenya is not grieving in speculation. We are grieving that over 60 youth have been shot dead, another approximately 89 citizens abducted and forcefully disappeared, journalists and critics surveilled and threatened, neighbors' sovereignty trampled on in cross-border impunity, our budgets have been looted and priorities distorted and lives stolen. During his address, President Ruto offered generalized apologies to our children. If there is any misstep, we apologize. This statement did not acknowledge the government's actions. Instead, the apology was well framed in broad, non-committal terms without reference to concrete issues or clear commitment to corrective action. There is no if when the evidence is written in the wounds of a nation. It is unacceptable to pretend to provide redress conditionally. Most recently, we are very angered that the government has failed to defend its citizens who have been tortured and subjected to gross, inhuman treatment when they are outside the country. In a self-preserving move, the President of Kenya and the Chair of the East African Community rushed to offer an apology to Tanzania without demanding accountability. It is pretentious to believe the same mouth that denied accountability can now deliver justice to grieving Kenyans.
Demands are clear. Our constitution is even more clearer. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, sovereignty belongs to the people. Article 10 requires that governance be anchored in transparency, accountability, and human dignity. Additionally, Article 43 anchors the right of every Kenyan to access education, health, housing, and social protection. On the other hand, Chapter 6 states that leadership must be based on integrity and public trust while remaining accountable to the people of Kenya. The provisions are not aspirations. They are the law, which is equal to a creed in a religious setting. Therefore, a breach is a betrayal and must be met with serious actions of accountability and responsibility. Therefore, we ask the following. When will justice begin for the youth murdered during peaceful protests while rogue police officers continue to walk free, even as graves remain unmarked and questions unanswered? Secondly, where is the inquiry into enforced disappearances and abductions?
I turn our attention to the budget.
Okoa Uchumi therefore calls for the government to proactively engage with regional counterparts to ensure the safety, dignity, and protection of all Kenyans, defend citizens across borders. As the chair of the East Africa Community, the President must take firm stance when Kenyans face mistreatment in neighboring countries. A national inquiry into the extrajudicial killings, disappearance, and state violence led by independent actors, and victims' families, and immediate redress and reparation for victims of economic and political violence. Transparent audits for public debts and identification of odious loans as per the High Court ruling of December 2024 and a people-led renegotiation process. Criminal investigation into the grand corruption cases in digital infrastructure, housing, health, land, and other captured sectors. We also call for a restoration of social sector budgets such as health, education, child services, contraceptives, and social protection as non-negotiable economic rights. We also call for the full implementation of Chapter 6 and Article 10, starting with the public vetting and lifestyle audit of those in office. As we conclude, we say this campaign is not against Kenya, it is for Kenya. A Kenya where leadership is accountable, budgets serve people, and justice is not marbled in prayers, but written into policy, practice, and public life. Thank you.
National Assembly and in the different counties. And we state that this year's budget is not a people's budget. It cuts funding for children and other critical services, but balloons spending, particularly in the presidency and other operational expenses. Clearly, we do not have a revenue problem, but we have an expenditure problem. As if that is not enough, the budget mocks the sovereignty of the people and offends intergenerational equity of slashing education, children's services, contraceptives and public health, yet triples budgets for security, surveillance and elite comfort. It offends our elderly and vulnerable while feeding a bloated bureaucracy. It again presents a faulty deficit that will cause our Kenyan suppliers to go without. For importance is that the budget does not factor in 706 billion that is owed to spending bills to companies and to basically micro and small enterprises, and also the debt repayments and principal amount come to about 1.9 trillion Kenya shillings. Do we still need to be discussing debt restructuring and default despite the government clearly lacking the ability to pay local suppliers, pensioners and essential services? We are already in a debt default in that sense. Isn't this what are the basics of an insolvency in a country? Finally, we want to state that we are tired of apologies at prayer breakfast. We do not swallow them. We are ashamed of expensive ceremonies that produce no justice, and ultimately we are fed up with leaders with fluent language of faith but deaf to the cries of the people of Kenya.